speaking of other musicians, like, I mean, obviously we just asked you that, but I have to zero in on one specific part of your career, and I've always been fascinated by this. Now, I didn't attend this particular Ozzfest, but you guys played probably the most wild metal Ozzfest lineup ever, and I'm talking about Ozzfest 2004. That may have been the best traveling American metal festival ever assembled. So I want to ask, how was it like for God Fobid playing that Ozzfest lineup there? I mean, Slipknot headlined the second stage. You had the Judas Priest reunion with Slayer, Sabbath. It was just an insane, fully loaded lineup. Like, you couldn't put this lineup together today because all these bands are headliners and super expensive now. So, do you have any recollection or memories of that particular Ozzfest?
I mean, so many memories. It was really like it was the first time we ever felt successful.
Yeah.
Or felt like we've arrived. And a lot of it had to do, it happened at the time where we felt like we put out our first record that really we felt was like, we're good enough. We've done something that we're proud of, and we feel like competes with the best of what was going on in metal at that time. So I think we felt like we had arrived as a band creatively. And it was the first time we had our own tour bus. It was the first time we had a full crew. And also on the days off, we got to do the shows with Slipknot and Slayer and Hatebreed. And so we were doing these massive arena shows and amphitheater shows, even on our non-Ozzfest days. And, our record was selling really well. So we were basically, so on the second stage, it was Devil Driver, Bleeding Through, OTEP, Atreyu, Every Time I Die, Darkest Hour, Throwdown, all our Unearth, all our peers, all the bands we had come up with in the hardcore scene and metalcore scene. And you really felt like it's like Fight Club. You gotta go out there and crush it, because if you don't, these other bands are gonna wipe the floor with you. So you really had to give everything you had, and it was because there was so many bands and everyone was heavy and everyone was bringing the energy. How are you going to stand out? What makes you special amongst all these bands playing at 10 in the morning? And that was the real challenge of it, is feeling all right, you're good, but how do you match up against all this stuff? But so there's that element of it. But I mean, when you're out there with Slipknot and Slayer and Judas Priest, you're it's the history of metal.
Yeah.
Basically. So it really changed our mindset, because I think it exposed us to oh, this is how the other side's living.
Yeah.
This is, you go out there and for me, my whole life touring, especially when we get to do tours with big bands and historically great bands, is I'm studying everything. I'm studying the way they sound. I'm studying how they move. I'm studying how they dress. I'm studying their light show. I'm studying the way they play and how it sounds in their songs. And why do people like this song? Why does that? Wow, that song seems to really go over with the crowd. What are the elements of it? Is it the beat? Is it the riff? Is it the lyric? So I think you go out there and then we became very inspired by being in the vicinity of greatness.
Yeah.
Of real, because it doesn't, like I said, unless it's Metallica or Iron Maiden or Rammstein, right? It doesn't get much bigger than that, with those artists we were touring with. And so it was a real fundamental where we were I remember we did a show, it was in Iowa City, I think, and it was Slipknot, Slayer, God Fobid, right? And you're how the fuck did we get here? And we did really well. And you're so we're playing with the best metal bands in the world, and people like us. And we're doing pretty good. And we're hanging out with these guys. We're hanging out. And oh, by the way, and then Super Giant Ritual. So you have Phil Anselmo.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Dimmu Borgir, we did shows with it's, Black Label Society. I mean, you had everyone, Hatebreed, Bleeding Through. it was out of control. So we're hanging out with these people. We're friends. Like, Dave Lombardo is coming and watching our set and hanging out, and Phil from Pantera is like complimenting us on stage and things like that. And you go, okay, and then then we did that, and then we went to Japan with In Flames and Chimera. Then we went to Europe with Machine Head for 2.5 months. So it's like that was like our graduation period to like the real thing. And we were a band that always had a chip on our shoulder and felt like we didn't belong, we're not good enough, and so it was a real, it changed our whole mindset, but maybe in some ways in bad ways, because we started to think like we're rock stars, man, we're the shit. But, and I think
you're sticking your chest out, yeah.
Yeah, but that
did Sharon Osbourne did somebody recommend you guys to Sharon Osbourne, or how did that come to be? Like,
so I don't know the whole process, but you got to remember, like, the previous year, 2003, it was still primarily like new metal bands, right?
Oh yeah, and that was the movement, yeah.
And I remember going to Ozzfest 2001 and going, my band will never play this. It's it's like, it was like, all, I think that year maybe like Downplayed or like Meshuggah or something like that. Maybe that was the following year, but there wasn't like maybe Hatebreed or like Il Nino was about as heavy as it got on the second stage, but it was like Salah and stuff like that, and we just felt like, oh, that was happening. That's cool. We're like doing something very, very different than that. And but the previous year it was like Shadows Fall, Killswitch, Cradle of Filth, and Nothing Face were like the heavy bands, and those bands, they get all the attention on that second stage. And then, so I think they saw that things were changing in terms of what people were into and the personal taste and movement of bands, and then that overtook it in 2004, and I guess we were part of that, but we got added later than a lot of the bands.
Oh, okay.
But it was still, you had to buy on, so it was $130,000 buy on that our label, basically our label, fronted the money, but we still owe it. We have to do that, and then we still need to take another $100,000 just to pay for the expenses during the tour, because you weren't getting paid.
Yeah,
there was no money. So not only were you paying to do the tour, you also weren't getting paid to do the tour. So you had to get more money. So all those bands did that, had to spend like $200,000 of their own money, or to take money from the label. But you got to keep in mind, like, at that time, before social media was like a really big thing, the impact of what doing something like Ozzfest, what it did for you, was so overwhelmingly worth it. Like it was definitely worth it. Like, our band tripled in size from that one tour, basically, in the States.
Yeah, so therefore you guys got that money back eventually.
Well, the label probably got the money. We're still underrecouped.
Okay.
But that record, Gone Forever, we went from selling 20,000 copies of our previous record to like 70,000 of Gone Forever, and then whatever it sold overseas, probably another 20,000 or something.